I think my wife is cheating on me. I, 34 male, think my wife, 32, might be cheating on me. We have been married for 2 years, but we have been together for about 5 years. It has been a tough couple of months for us financially, and I have had to take on more shifts at work to make ends meet. I don't spend as much time with my wife as I used to, but something tells me that she might be cheating on me. For starters, she somehow found a way to completely change her style of dressing, and she pays extra attention to the way she looks to the extent that she feels insecure if she does not look nice when she is going out for anything, including mundane tasks like grocery shopping. We are both low-maintenance people, so it's a bit suspicious that she is insistent on trying to look good. I asked my friends, and they said it might just be due to the fact that she just went through surgery and trying to look good to aid her healing process. The surgery was because they found a tumor in her breast, and she had to take it out so it wouldn't spread. Our insurance only covered part of the payment for the surgery, and not for all the aftercare costs, which was also very expensive. And because she is on sick leave, which is unpaid, we are now both dependent on my salary. That was why I took on more shifts. But she has now gone back to work, so I reduced the number of shifts I was having so I could spend more time with her. She avoids spending time with me. I don't know why, but every time I step into a room where she is, she finds an excuse to step out of the room. She now sleeps on the couch because my snoring disturbs her sleep. I admit that I snore pretty heavily, but it's not something that has ever caused us trouble. When we started dating, she used to want to be with me all the time, and she would text me throughout the day, telling me about everything she was doing. We both didn't exactly have much of a social life, so I tried to include her into everything I was doing. When we first moved in together, we would tell each other everything that had happened while the other person wasn't around. I liked it as a routine because it meant that I knew pretty much everything that was going on with her. She also couldn't keep her hands to herself. She liked touching me and kissing me. She couldn't go an hour whenever we were together without leaning in for a kiss. I wasn't a really physical person, but I found that trait very amusing. However, for about 2 months now, she has stopped doing all those things. She doesn't even become excited whenever I get home anymore. At times, I feel like she doesn't recognize that I'm even there. I thought it was the side effects from the surgery and being cooped up at home, but things didn't change when she returned to work. She now comes late from work often. Before, she always liked to come home first as she knew she was going to hang out with her coworkers or attend a meeting. She doesn't even bother to notify me if she's going to be back late. I started getting suspicious when she told me she was going to hang out with some of her coworkers after work. I was surprised because she had just told me out of the blue. I thought maybe she was finally getting back to normal, but it became really late and she didn't come home, so I got worried. I sent her another text, but it went unanswered. I tried calling her, but her number went to voicemail. I wasn't comfortable just sitting around and waiting for her to return. I called some of her other coworkers that I knew, and they told me that they left the bar sometime earlier. My wife should have gotten home before all of them. I decided to go down to the bar where they met. I drove down there and found her car in the parking lot. I thought she must have decided to take some more drinks and lost track of time, but when I entered the bar, there was no trace of my wife anywhere. I grew more worried, thinking something bad had happened to her. I went back to the car, which I parked next to hers, and started trying her phone again. It rang, but there was no response, and it eventually went to voicemail. I texted her friends and sister to see if they had heard from her in the past few hours, and they all replied negatively. I was about to give in and call the police when I saw a car drive into the parking lot. It was a sleek car, so it looked a bit out of place in the parking lot. It caught my attention, and I looked up to see a woman coming out of the car. It was my wife. She was giggling at whatever the man was saying, so she didn't notice her car right away. When she noticed the car, she was startled to see me there, so I knew it was because of guilt. I had gone crazy trying to look for her, and had even gone to the extent of contacting her family and friends, who were also as worried as I was, and it just turned out that she had gone out with some guy. I was really pissed at her. I didn't want to start a fight, so I told her that I was going away. I tend to have violent outbursts, and I didn't want to end up regretting anything, so I drove off to my brother's. I was plagued with doubts all through the weekend, and spent a lot of time watching the house through the security cameras. But she didn't leave the house, and she didn't get any visits from anyone, except the mailman. If she was cheating, she should have taken advantage of my absence to go out or have her man come over, right? She didn't, so maybe she was innocent. However, I knew that wasn't enough to assure me of her innocence. Maybe she didn't know when I was going to be back, and she didn't want me to catch her in the act. Or maybe her lover was out of town. Those were the thoughts that ran through my head. The next day, I returned home after I knew she had left for work before changing into my work gear. When I got back from work, she was home. She even made dinner for us, something that she had stopped doing for a while. I ate the food and afterwards told her that we needed to talk. I asked her to explain what happened on Friday because I had been worried sick. She apologized and told me she had decided to stay for some more drinks and she had accidentally put her phone on silent. I didn't believe her because I had checked the bar and she wasn't there. It was then that she broke down crying that she had been feeling down and had run into an old friend. When her coworkers had left, she went on a long drive with the guy and they had just talked. She admitted to being slightly drunk, so the friend hadn't wanted to let her drive and she had let him drive her around until she became slightly sober. I accepted her explanation then. But the more I thought about it, the more I wasn't convinced. She didn't even seem remotely drunk when I saw her. And I knew that she had to have been drinking a lot for her to have gotten tipsy. So when I got home the next day, I asked her how many drinks she had taken for her to have gotten drunk. She said she didn't remember. I decided that I wasn't going to let her make me feel bad, so I asked her outrightly if she was cheating on me. She denied it vehemently, and she said she could never cheat on me. I believed her. I decided to let things be. But the thing is that she hasn't changed at all since then. She still returns home late in the evening without telling me where she has gone to. She goes out a lot more without telling me where she is going, and she can avoid it. We haven't been intimate in weeks, and anytime I try to initiate intimacy, she avoids me. We used to have sex on a regular basis, and now she won't even let me kiss her. I think I'm going to ask her to try couples therapy. What do you guys think? Is she cheating on me? Update. When I asked everyone if they thought my wife was cheating on me, they asked me to just watch her behavior before jumping to conclusions. So the first thing that came to my mind was to hire a private investigator. I got one with the recommendation of my friends. It was pretty expensive, but I hoped it would be worth it. So the guy will watch her over the next 2 weeks to see if she does anything suspicious. Update 2. So the PI has been following her around for the past week and has been giving me reports. However, she never leaves work, and when she does go out with her coworkers, she comes home right after. The only strange thing is that she always leaves only after all her coworkers are. She orders a lot of drinks, almost enough to get her drunk. Then she takes a long bathroom break. After the bathroom break, she pays for the drinks and leaves. I don't think she is cheating on me anymore. I'm going to ask the private investigator to stop because there's no way I can afford the fees. Then I'm going to make her attend couples therapy with me. Hopefully, we can salvage our relationship. Update 3. I was so wrong about my wife. I am angry and sad right now. She was actually cheating on me and tried to be smart about it. After I discharged the private investigator from following her, I told her that we should give therapy a trial. She was reluctant at first, but after I poured my heart out to her, telling her how I didn't trust her because of everything she was doing to keep me away and how I loved her enough not to let her push me away, she agreed to therapy and we started working out our issues. She accused me of not catering to her needs the way I used to before she had surgery. I apologized and worked hard to fix the flaw. I wanted to make her so happy that she wouldn't feel the need to draw away from me. It seemed like things were working out for us because of the therapy. We were spending more time together, having sex and going on dates. At this point, I got a price increase at work, so I could afford to skip certain shifts. Then, one morning, while I was peeing, she came into the bathroom to get ready for work. She goes everywhere with her phone, and on this day, she was with her phone. She got a notification on her phone, and instead of checking it like she normally would, she swipes the pop-up bar away. The whole thing was looking suspicious, and I didn't want to trigger a fight, so I pretended like I didn't notice anything. I spent the whole day thinking of what to do to her to get my hands on the phone. That night, while we got ready for bed, I asked her to make me a smoothie, since she was going to the kitchen anyway. In her haste, she left her phone. I was going to let it be, but I was too curious, so I ended up taking the phone. I scrolled through her texts, but I didn't find anything suspicious. I checked her other apps and got something on her Instagram. She uses Instagram a lot, and I checked her DMs. It was there that I found the explicit pictures that she had been sending to some guy online. The guy was telling her that he wanted to screw her so hard and some other stuff. She sent replies on how she wanted his dick all to herself and how much she loved him. They had done so many stuff together. Stuff she had told me that she could never try out in bed. She had even expressed how she wanted to suck him off whenever she could. She had to be in a good mood to offer to do that for me. She always complained about my size, about how I was too big for her to handle, and when I saw the pictures the guy sent, he was about my size but longer. I was heartbroken when I saw everything. We hadn't even finished paying off the debts from her surgery, and she was having sex with another man. There was nothing that she wanted that I didn't do for her. I gave up a major opportunity to stay in the town we were living in so that she could stay in the same town her parents were living in. From the messages, it was evident that the guy was her coworker because they both made references to their workplace. And he didn't know that she was married because he kept calling her by affectionate names, but never once made mention that she leaves me for him. There was no trace that he knew I existed. I checked her other social media apps and found out that it was the same guy all through. They had been having sex since 6 weeks after her surgery. She had never allowed him to come to our house, but she went over to his place a lot. That was where she went to on the night I had gotten worried about her, and the bathroom breaks were them trying outside sex. They had even taken it up a notch by having sex in a park outside. Oh, I thought she was being smart. She told the guy she didn't want anyone at work to know so they wouldn't look at them differently. But I knew it was because they all knew that she was married to me. I felt pity for the guy, and for the first time since I knew my wife, I hated her so much. And then I thought that the problem was with me, and I had been trying to fix things, not knowing that I was innocent. There was no way I was going to let her play me for a fool. After I was done with her phone, I dropped it back where she had kept it and went to the bathroom to take a shower. She eventually returned with my smoothie, but I told her that I didn't want it anymore. While we slept, she clung to me in her sleep. Before, I would have been ecstatic that she did that, but now I just felt like clawing her skin off my body and washing the parts of me that she had touched with sandpaper. When I couldn't bear it any longer, I left her sleeping there and went to sleep on the couch. Then I remembered all the times that she had left the room to sleep on the couch, and I couldn't sleep there either. I spent the rest of the night on the bare floor staring at nothing. I left the house as soon as it was done. I bought a new couch and threw the other one out. That was where I started sleeping. She asked me if everything was fine, and I told her yeah. I gave the excuse that I got back from work late and I didn't want to disturb her sleep. She didn't say anything. She texted me at work to tell me that she would be home late, and I told her that it was fine. I knew she was going to screw her affair partner, and it broke my heart all over again because she had been lying to me over and over again. I decided to divorce her, but divorce wouldn't have been enough for me. I needed to make her pay for her deceit and her cheating. After a little research, I found out the reason why she had gone for the coworker. It turns out that the affair partner is the heir to a majority of the shares of the company she worked for. She simply wanted him for his money, nothing more and nothing less. Her birthday was fast approaching, and I remembered they had promised to meet at her office for her gift, which I was pretty sure was just sex. It gave me an idea to punish her, and the best part was that I wasn't even going to be there. I went to my in-laws and convinced them to help me plan a surprise birthday for her at work. The plan was to visit her during her break, drop off food and cake and return without disrupting the workplace. Her office was pretty chill about stuff like that, as long as they didn't disturb the other people. The key word was disruption, and I planned to use it against her. Her parents conceded to my plan and everything was set. On her birthday, I didn't wish her a happy birthday. She thought I was planning something. She was right, but it wasn't what she was thinking about. When it was noon, I called my father-in-law and told him that I wouldn't be able to make it to the party because something came up at my workplace. I told him that they should go ahead with the plan. She was definitely going to be in the office. I told them to go straight down to the warehouse because she had told me that she would be filing inventory. They were in for a surprise. I wasn't there, but the news spread around town so quickly that I heard every detail. Her parents and sister had gotten to the warehouse and had found her completely naked while jumping on another man's dick. I heard that her mother had slapped her while she was still naked and had started reprimanding her right there on the spot. The guy was still partially dressed and he ran away while trying to get dressed. Her sister and father left the scene while she was still naked. I heard it caused a lot of commotion in the workplace that night. When she got home, I was waiting. She said she had something to confess, that she had been cheating on me for a while and that she was sorry. She told me that it was because she had gotten bored while waiting to get surgery, and that was how she had found herself talking to the guy. I told her that I knew all about it. She was surprised. She begged and pleaded that she never meant things to go that far, and I told her that I believed her. When I wiped her tears away, she kissed me and I responded. She initiated sex and I let her, because it was meant to be the last time. We tried out everything I had wanted to try out before, and she was more than eager to do things. I found it a bit difficult to stay hard because I knew that she had taken another man just hours before me, but I needed to have her believe that things were good. Afterwards, she slept off, and I decided to finish the project I had been working on, which was packing everything that belonged to her out of my house. I drove down to her parents' house and dumped everything there before returning back home. I placed the divorce papers on the kitchen table, along with a note that I didn't expect her to still be around when I got back in the evening. That was the best way to seek revenge on her. Update 4. She'd been trying to reach me since then, but I got a restraining order against her. Her sister told me that she had been suspended from her workplace for having sex in the warehouse. The affair partner got away scot-free because of his position, but I heard now that he also doesn't want to have anything to do with her. I can't wait for the divorce to be finalized, and then I can finally cut her out of my life. I gave her a home. I gave her my heart and my loyalty as we married. I accepted her crazy parents interfering with our lives. So when I gave her my soul, She was chasing belly tingles with someone else. Not just a somebody, no, no, no. It was a trusted family friend. They must think I'm a simp. They never expected me to be laser focus driven by the need for revenge. Before we start, be sure to boil 6 eggs and sneak them with you to the like button's housewarming. Once there, plant these randomly in the like button's basket of fresh eggs. Warning. The following story will be upsetting to cheaters. So, here I am, a 27-year-old guy telling his twisted experience with my cheating wife. Let's introduce the star of the show, my wife, Kelly, who's 1 year my junior. She recently cheated on me with a friend of mine, also a 27-year-old. We'll call him Jay, for story's sake. Our story begins when I was 22. I attended a friend's wedding and happened to be seated next to Kelly. We were both close to the couple. She was tight with the bride, and I was chummy with the groom. Little did we know, our friends had hatched a plan to play matchmakers, seating us together at the wedding. When I first laid eyes on Kelly, I was utterly gobsmacked by her beauty. As we began to chat, it became apparent that we had a lot of things in common. Our conversation flowed easily, and we clicked instantly. We chatted away, enjoyed the wedding meal, and even swayed to the music on the dance floor. It was a night full of dancing, drinking, and, you guessed it, a little smooching right there in the middle of the dance floor. Our friends, the newlyweds, were ecstatic to see their matchmaking plan unfolding. They playfully asked us about our status, but we just shrugged it off and continued with our night. When we parted ways, we didn't exchange numbers. However, a week later, I received a text from Kelly asking me out. Our bride friend had shared my number. Without hesitation, I agreed, and thus, our relationship blossomed. Fast forward a couple of years, and our relationship was thriving, aside from the occasional tiffs that any couple experiences. Nothing really serious ever emerged, so eventually, I popped the question. Less than a year later, we were hitched. We enjoyed a little more than a year of wedded bliss before my world came crashing down around me. Just before our first anniversary, I noticed a shift in Kelly's behavior. She became more protective of her phone, her girls' nights seemed to multiply like rabbits, and our sexy time life dwindled to virtually non-existent. I brought up these concerns multiple times, only to be dismissed and accused of letting my insecurities get to me. Kelly appeared unaffected by my feelings and concerns, so in response, I grew colder. The tender goodbye kiss as I left for work vanished, and our conversations dwindled to only the necessary ones. Then came the night it got to me and I decided to see for myself. While Kelly slept, I scoured her phone and laptop, rummaging through her texts, emails, and messenger apps, only to find nothing suspicious. However, having read countless stories on here, I knew I had one more place to check, her car. I sneaked inside her car and to my surprise, I found a second phone. I knew in that instant what was going on. Yet, I wanted to gather all the evidence for when I confront her. I didn't want her to brush it off saying it had only happened once or any nonsense like that. I sifted through the phone, finding only one suspicious number. I read every message, connected the phone to my computer, and printed out every conversation and photo. That night, I found myself researching divorce lawyers. In my home office, I spent hours reading lawyer profiles until I found one I liked. I sent him an email, but since it was a Saturday, I didn't expect a response. My curiosity piqued. I wanted to know who the guy was. So, I picked up my phone, dialed the number I had found, and intended to pretend I was Spectrum. But as I dialed, Jay's contact popped up. I felt my world crash. I blew up, yelling and cursing in my office. My wife opened the door to check on me. The moment I saw her, I angrily yelled for her to get out. I had never raised my voice or cursed at her before. That day, I stayed holed up in my office, silently fuming and glaring at the wall. In need of a drink, I called up a friend from the wedding and asked if he would join me. He agreed, probably because he could hear something was wrong in my voice. Without any explanation, I grabbed all the printouts and headed to the bar. I got there first and ordered 4 shots of Jack and a beer. When my friend, let's call him Tony, arrived, he found me downing my last shot. When he asked what was going on, I blurted out, "Kelly's cheating." He was the one who had introduced me to Jay, and all he could say was, "I'm sorry," over and over again. Although Jay and I were never close, we were friendly whenever we ran into each other at social events. I made Tony promise not to tell anyone about this. I hadn't even spoken to Kelly or a lawyer yet. If his wife asked about me, he was to say I was having problems at work. He agreed. We drank and talked for most of the night. At around 3 a.m., I called an Uber and went home. When I got home, I saw Kelly sleeping on the couch. Without saying a word, I went up to our bedroom and fell asleep. When I woke up, she was lying next to me. Not wanting to confront her yet, I got dressed and left the house. I headed to my office and buried myself in work all day. When I got back home around 10 p.m., my wife was there to greet me. She had made me dinner and asked if I wanted her to heat it up. I simply said no and went to bed. She followed me, asking what had been bothering me. I told her to leave me alone and that I wanted to sleep. She wouldn't let me sleep and kept asking and trying to get my attention. Eventually, I lost my temper and yelled at her to stop and let me sleep. The next morning, I received an email from the lawyer asking to meet later in the day. I confirmed the meeting and got ready to leave. When I walked down, I saw Kelly had made breakfast and wanted to talk. I made a small plate and sat down. She began by saying that I'd been acting differently and going on about how I'd changed. She wanted to know why. I told her work had been stressful and assured her it would be over soon. After finishing my meal, I told her I had to leave for work. I was counting down the minutes until I could meet the lawyer. The meeting with the lawyer went well. I handed over all the evidence I had gathered. The lawyer told me, "Well, I'm sorry for all that's going on, but I'm happy you gathered all this information. You see, we live in an at-fault state, so your wife has no claim on most of your money." I was taken aback. I hadn't even thought about that. I just wanted to get a divorce as soon as possible. I asked the lawyer to make copies of the evidence and he agreed. When I got home, I was ready to confront Kelly, but she wasn't there. I called her once, twice, but there was no answer. So, I texted her, "I don't care if you're with Jay right now. Get home, we need to talk." Sure enough, she called back in less than a minute, asking what I was talking about. All I told her was to get home now. She showed up 15 minutes later. "Interesting," I said. 15 minutes is just about how long it takes to drive from here to Jay's. What a coincidence. She stared at me, looking confused. I gave her a minute to assemble her thoughts, but she was clearly too busy practicing her goldfish impression to reply. Lost for words? I asked. She tried to deny everything and starts gaslighting me. As she started to insult me personally, I slammed my fist on the table to put an end to it. "Check out this mountain I've built up," I said, pulling out my stack of evidence. I showed her each printout, one at a time. She told me to stop and began to cry. She even tried to apologize and said she loved me. "Funny," I said, "you were so adamant on degrading and insulting me 1 minute ago. Where's that fiery spirit now?" She tried to hug me, blubbering about how sorry she was. I held up my hand, signaling her to keep her distance. She kept pushing herself towards me, insisting she could make it right and she would do anything for me, asking to go to the bedroom. "You suggest we take this to the bedroom? I'm never gonna touch you again. Also, do you know who else has these documents? My lawyer. I'm divorcing you. Now grab a bag, pack up your things, get the frick out of my house." That was 3 days ago, and since then, there's been radio silence from her. I apologize for the length of this story. I'm curious, for those who've been in my shoes, what should I brace myself for next? Thanks for being here with me. Bravo! You've tackled that situation like a true champ. Now let's go over the post-game plan. First and foremost, it's time to go on a financial spring cleaning spree. Take her off all your accounts, insurance, credit cards, the works. Change every single one of your passwords. Next, book yourself an STD test. It's never a fun afternoon, but hey, better safe than unknowingly harboring a rogue parasite. And please, for the love of all that's holy, don't act out in anger. As much as you might want to give her or Jay a piece of your mind or fist, don't. Follow your lawyer's advice religiously. Ask him if you can change the locks on the house. She's effectively abandoned ship, so it's only right you secure the fort. Steer clear of booze. It might seem like an easy escape, but trust me, they're about as helpful as a chocolate teapot. Brace yourself for the storm that's coming. It'll be a whirlwind of begging, gaslighting, and blame shifting. She might even try to play the victim card and paint you as the villain in her twisted narrative. Don't let her. Broadcast your side of the story. Share it with your parents, friends, and especially if Jay has a girlfriend or wife, share it with her. Channel all that pent-up anger and rage into exercise. It's a great way to blow off some steam, keep you grounded, and tire you out for a good night's sleep, which might seem like a distant memory as the reality of the situation sinks in. Good luck, soldier, and keep us in the loop. We're rooting for you. Much appreciated for the advice. I'll stick to that. Lawyer told me all communication between her and I should go through him, so hopefully I won't be talking to her at all. Jay does have a fiancé and I'm planning on telling her. How do you plan on contacting Jay's fiancé? I'm sure he knows that you know, and will likely be on the lookout for anything in the mail or you showing up at the house, etc. Hopefully he doesn't have access to monitor her email or socials. I've met her a few times and I have her personal number. I will try to contact her until she answers, and if she doesn't, I'll go to their house when he's at work. I'll put a note in her car to contact me. I won't let that jerk get away scot-free. You, my friend, are a savage and I love it. It's bad enough for someone to cheat, but it's so much worse when they cheat with someone you actually know. I think trying to talk to the fiancé is a great idea. Nobody deserves to be treated like this, and I hope you can heal and find someone who is truly right for you. Sending hugs your way. Thank you. I know it'll suck for a while, but I'll work through it. Good on you, man. Swift and decisive action. So sorry that you got caught up with another fake friend out here, but you will come out on top in the end. They always can explain, expect the begging and crying to continue when she gets the divorce papers. It didn't mean anything. I don't love him and other bullcrap. Expose her to all near and far after. The thing is, if she was blowing up my phone I could ignore it, but the silence is making me uneasy. Like, what scheme is this woman up to? She ain't scheming, she's afraid of what is to come. Smoke them out to everyone and get her served. Let the fiancé of the other lowlife know too. Her actions before all of this just showed that she never really gave a crap about you, especially with the dead bedroom, but I guess we know why now. Can't trust no one these days, bro. So, my lawyer advised against publicly shaming her or him as it could hurt my case, but I will have her served at work as I have no idea where she is staying now. I will tell his fiancé everything and give copies of all the evidence. Hello everyone. First off, a big thank you to all of you who took the time to comment or send me messages. Your advice and praise mean a lot to me. My apologies if I haven't managed to answer all your comments. I've been trying to keep up. After the initial post, I found myself flooded with tons of advice. Being the sensible man I try to be, I decided to follow most of it. This morning was all about damage control. First on the list, booking an appointment with the doctor for an STD check. That's now lined up for 2 days from now. Next, I reached out to my support network, my father and a few close friends. They've all been very supportive, offering their own advice and even help. But, as I've got this disaster on a fairly tight leash, I politely declined their help. Then came the time to face her family. I sent a text to her mom and dad expressing my gratitude for welcoming me into their family and for all they had done for me. But, with a heavy heart, not really, they were kind of suffocating, and although they're nice people, I'm relieved I no longer have to deal with them. I informed them that Kelly and I were getting divorced. Warning, these revenge stories might be upsetting to cheaters. To others, you just found the best place for your vengeful needs. To feel hurt and betrayed after suffering infidelity is human. But some lose themselves and indulge in the schadenfreude. These are their revenge stories that will make you either gasp or grin. Loyal señorita puts her loyalty in the wrong man. So she lured him into her trap, leaving him stranded. Next, husband caught his cheating wife, pretends to leave town, and gave her the most unforgettable surprise party. Last story. A cheating husband gets pranked during his divorce. Hell the like button. It looks like a bad before picture. This story is told from a female perspective. I am not proud of what I did, and I do feel that karma will get me one day. I'm prepared for it. I'm embarrassed that a somewhat successful individual such as myself is capable of something so petty and embarrassing. I'm 26. I had a great and awesome friend of 2 years who asked me out, and we began dating. Let's call him Jaden. We clicked emotionally and he had this way about him. that I fell in love with. We were in a long-distance relationship for a year. It felt really serious, to me at least. Jaden is the kind of guy that just goes with the flow of life, some call it lazy. It was normal for me to help him out financially, and I did so with love. I'd help him cover his mechanic's bill once, and bought his groceries for his family multiple times, because they were in a rough patch. He always seemed to live so careless, and I asked him jokingly once, if I wouldn't pay for your food, what would you do? He would tell me, eat way less. Or nothing at all. While shrugging it off. He lived 3 hours away. All was fine and we frequently saw each other. But then it all changed. I found out from his sister that he had been talking to other women while we were together. I confronted him, but Jaden denied it and refused to take responsibility, saying that I was the only one on his mind, and that his sister didn't know what she was talking about. I believed him, because I loved him. But 3 weeks ago, I found out from a mutual friend that he had been seeing and sexy timing with another woman in his town. When I confronted him about it, he blamed me, saying, "You know it's hard for me to control myself. You are the one who's neglecting me. You should know the distance is tough on me while we're apart." This was not true. I visited him every other weekend when I could afford it, and we talked and texted every day. He also said I didn't want him to live with me, which was true to be honest, but it was because I didn't want to support a grown man and pay his bills. I was heartbroken. Even more so, when my Jaden told me he loved me and wanted to do anything to make it work, only to drop all contact the very next day. I confided in my friends, who told me that the girl he was hooking up with was nothing more than an easy woman who had been around. This hurt me even more, to be honest. Let's call her Destiny, I think it's really fitting. They also told me that he had begun seeing her the day after we had our talk, and possibly even before then. I stuck by this guy through his worst times, the lowest point he was ever in. And he sexy times around on me, with the most questionable lady of the town, and lies about it many times. Holding false hope in front of me, as if I'm a donkey and he's baiting me with a carrot. Only to disappear suddenly without an explanation, for some cheap fun? During that time, I was humiliated by having to book a gyno appointment for a STD check. Why should I feel bad? I'm not the one who was unfaithful. 2 weeks ago, while still nursing my heartbreak, I reactivated my Facebook account and spent hours combing through my ex's and his new love's profiles. I knew I shouldn't have done it, but I couldn't help myself. Instead of dwelling on their flirty messages, I fixated on her profile. I read through months of cringe-worthy selfies, taken in a dirty, dark bathroom, with barely their clothing that even a promiscuous woman would be embarrassed to be caught in. Then I did it, don't judge me. I was in a bad place. I created a fake profile of a handsome man, who used to go to her school. I quickly befriended her friends, made fake posts, and added her as a friend. All of this took less than a day. You would be surprised at how many people will befriend you on Facebook based solely on your appearance, regardless of whether they actually know you or not. In just 2 hours, I had 140 friends and was receiving friend requests every few minutes. I couldn't help but wonder who was more pathetic, me, or these people who were so easily taken in. The next day, I started chatting with her, and she was very open with me, even sending me pictures of herself in questionable clothing, to a complete stranger, without any in return. How is this not a red flag to many men? Being a woman myself, it was easy to tell her what she wanted to hear. 2 to 3 days later, Destiny was complaining about Jaden to me, already. Yes, you heard that right. I told her I wanted to meet up and will pick her up, and show her what it's like to be with a real man. At this point, I had hours of conversations saved, her saying the dirtiest wordplays that I've ever read, pictures, audios, what have you. It was time. While all this was going on, Jaden started to contact me, saying it was a mistake. I asked him if they had broken up. He says yes, twice, and they were not, obviously. This should have broken my heart, but it didn't. I knew the truth, but told him that yes, I still love him, I can surely forgive and forget, and would love for him to move in with me. He sounded happy and excited, and said that he was going to give his 2 weeks to his boss, that day. Jaden texted me later, and told me that he just left them with no notice instead because who needs them, no lives, frick him. He was going to start packing, and will head out with everything later in the week. Karma will get me for this, but this was the revenge. I posted all of the conversations up on the fake profile, tagged her in it, posted the pictures and videos for my ex's eyes only, and sat back and enjoyed the show. Before I deactivated the fake account, I had 53 likes and 82 messages. Her social circle, Friends and family all saw it. Jaden saw it and coincidentally, immediately texted me to say, "Hey babe, just wanted to say that I miss you so much. Can't wait to be with you again. Miss you." Doesn't mention anything about the girl. But fair enough, he doesn't need to, as I'm updated more than he actually knows. Friday rolls around, and he tells me he is on his way to my apartment. This is the part where I have to tell you that I recently moved. So when Jaden was traveling, he didn't know where my new apartment was. So I tell him to meet me at a CVS close by, so I can direct him on where to go. Jaden, being true to being Jaden, tells me, "Sure, but I'm almost out of gas. I'll meet you there, so you can put some gas in the car. Don't forget your credit card." I, as the forgiving angel I am, agree, and tell him that I will. Once he gets there, I get a text telling me he's at the CVS and asks where I am. I ignore it. 30 minutes later, he blows up my phone like a scammy spammer from an Indian call center. Calls ignored. I was petty, as I made it a point to let it ring once, so that he knows I send it to voicemail. 1 hour passes. He calls and leaves me a voicemail. "Hey babe, I'm worried. About you, of course. Are you okay?" I am doing fan-freaking-tastic. 2 hours later, he says that he is stranded, drove to another CVS thinking I was there, but now he has no gas and is stranded at a gas station, with his belongings in the car. Calls ignored. I'm thinking about it's the perfect time to sleep, but I feel too excited. So I pop an Ambien and hit the bed. Saturday morning. It looks like the apocalypse happened, according to my phone being blown up with 37 text messages, 28 missed calls, and 7 voicemails. All from one person? Who would that be? It's a shame I can't share the voicemails, but I can say that in the end, Jaden had to call his mom to pick him up. Since then, I blocked his number and then had to change my number, since he would start calling me from his family's phone and blocked calls. Later, I received a message from his sister, the same who told me about his affair. She was excited to share the aftermath with me. She tells me that their mom and Jaden came home. While Jaden was crying his snot out, their mom was fuming with rage. Apparently their mom didn't know about his cheating, and Jaden told her in the car. But the unsympathetic woman wasn't fuming because of his cheating. She was enraged towards me because of what I did to her snotty kid. His sister made sure to tell me not to worry about it, that I was a badass and deserved better than her lying, cheating loser of a brother. I know I acted on impulse on all of this, probably destroyed this girl's spotless image in her social circle. I'm planning on reactivating the fake profile to say sorry or whatever, but not sure. She did knowingly sexy time a man that had a girlfriend, seduced him even, and then cheated on him too. Let me know what you think. She doesn't know it was me, just a random dude that put her stuff on blast. I made a point not to share the pictures, only to my ex though. I even blurred her face, but her tasteless tattoos showed, so he knows it's her. Nobody has connected the dots, and nobody will. I was careful about this. I lost him, yes, but I don't want him back. I know this sounds crazy, but the feelings I had for Jaden, my ex, are still there. He will never forgive me since he is now unemployed, and the whole town knows his business. Destiny even admitted his Wiener Schnitzel is a pinky, to share the load onto Jaden, instead of taking the hits alone. Tiny part of me regrets everything, and that I want him back with me. Other bigger part of me is glad I destroyed any type of reconciliation, as it was not going to work out in the end. Feels good to let this out, thank you. How did you stay calm and patient enough to pull this off? That amazes me the most. When I found out my ex was cheating, I was so angry that my face melted and I wasn't capable of a single coherent thought. He prefers to text when he wants to lie to me. He hadn't figured out that I had that figured out already. Anytime I wanted to call him out on anything in his texts, I would take a deep breath and think about the crap he put me through, and my goal of ultimate revenge. It's weird, because I think I would have been able to cook up something better. My anger didn't let me dwell further into that though. I'm sorry your partner cheated on you. Breaking up helped me initially, but then I stopped feeling sorry for myself and the rage took over. I'm usually a very composed person face to face. The vindictive side of me had a growing grin as I read this. Congrats on telling the only confession revenge story I've ever liked. Well done. The fact that his sister gave you props is icing on the cake. Thank you kindly. You did only 2 things wrong. You inconvenienced his mother and cost her a tank of gas. I would send her $40 or so, 'cause you know she's never going to see it from her son. Add a note saying you're sorry about the inconvenience and the time she lost, but he really needed the lesson. Second, I think you shamed her more than him. He deserved way more. She owed me $120 times 4 months since I paid their electric bill. I think I will just call it even. I also saved their new puppy dog once. It ended up passing in the hands of these incompetents anyway, about 3 weeks later. But who's counting? I know everyone is congratulating you on a vindictive revenge well done, but I just want to extend a heartfelt condolence that you had to go through that. Yeah, you might have won in the end, but there are always casualties in war, you know? I hope you meet a guy who's worth your time and you can forget about this douche. Good lottie woman, you are heartless. I've been cheated on by 2 of my long-term girlfriends after treating them both like gold for years. This type of revenge is absolutely unnecessary, and honestly, it's quite immature. If you are cheated on again, which I hope doesn't happen, and you really want to achieve revenge, then end the relationship clean-cut by stating the reason and then severing ties. Live well and never look back. The silence is the nuke. Not trying to come down hard on you, and I wish you the very best of luck in the future. I wouldn't pull a stunt like this again in the future though. I am not surprised at all that you still have feelings for your ex. Why else would you have conducted this revenge tactic? I don't think this helped you at all to get over him. Sure, you made sure you cannot get back with him, but you also made sure that finding closure will be a lot more difficult. And no, I don't think he deserved it either. Sure, he was cheating on you, and he deserved to get dumped, and even to be exposed as a cheater. However, I don't believe what he did was ever done to hurt you on purpose. He was a cheating douche, but he didn't intend and actively plan to destroy your life, unlike you. Now, we're not here to judge, and I hate cheaters and liars like most people do, so I get why you did it. I just think it should have remained a fantasy. I hope you find closure soon and someone that truly loves you. I'm not sure what his motives were. He did ask and get money from me, because he didn't have money to pay for his car payment while he was messing around with the girl. All I could think about was him taking the money. I sent him so he can drive, to go sexy time her or whatever. Who knows what he